So last time we had a conversation about this guy, it was in a video discussing his inevitable trade to the New Jersey Devils. Of course, you know who we're talking about here, Winnipeg Jets goaltender Connor Hellebuyck. He's a guy who was a part of a team that might not be in that sort of win-now mode anymore. And after the departure of guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois, you have other names like Hellebuyck, like Mark Scheifele, that might be on the move soon too, in order to accrue capital and in order to just kind of retool and do everything on the fly once again. Rebuild, if you wanted to use that word. So for Hellebuyck, he's a good goalie, one of the best in the NHL, 30 years old, on a contract till the end of 2024, making $6.16 million a year. And he had a .920 save percentage last year. He's very good. And with the Vezina trophy to his name as well, you could definitely understand why this guy is as valued as he would be in the NHL. But long story short, this has been an idea that's floated around for a while, that hey, Hellebuyck is potentially on the market, let's just say he is on the market, and teams like the New Jersey Devils, for example, are in the mix. They want to get that goaltender to really solidify themselves in the now and boost up what is already a team with a stacked forward core, strong defense, and that just could use that extra push with goaltending. As for the update that we had last time, there was this idea floating around saying that it was inevitable. Hey, it's going to happen. The Winnipeg Jets are going to trade Hellebuyck to New Jersey. But we had ourselves a recent athletic hockey show wherein Michael Russo, who is a Minnesota Wild insider, went out there and said this. Right now, it doesn't look like the Devils and Jets are willing to pay the incredible assets the Jets are commanding for Connor Hellebuyck. And this is an interesting idea. By the way, that's the entire video. That's the update. It's just one tweet from Alex Chauvency, wherein he cites a Michael Russo quote. But I wanted to make a video specifically about this because when it comes to the Winnipeg Jets, part of what makes their trading strategy so unique is what we learned from the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade to LA. Now, when Pierre-Luc Dubois was in the trade sphere and everybody was talking about him getting moved everywhere, this happened for like a year straight pretty much. When he was in that trade rumor mill, everybody was kind of saying, okay, he wants Montreal. He wants to go to Montreal, therefore the Montreal Canadiens have all the leverage, therefore the Winnipeg Jets are not going to be able to get much for trading this guy away. But then what happened? The Winnipeg Jets traded Dubois to the Kings, and they got a great return. Iafallo, Vilardi, the picks, and the prospects involved. This was a great trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois, and everything kind of subverted our expectations. He didn't get traded to the Montreal Canadiens, he got traded to some completely other team. A team that we kind of knew was in the mix, but that we didn't expect to really be there at the very end and be the last team standing. But the point is, the Winnipeg Jets had a price, they had a certain amount of assets they demanded in a Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, and they got it. They got it done. There was a lot more danger with that situation too, because Pierre-Luc Dubois was also expiring, and we knew that he didn't really want to sign long-term in Winnipeg. And so if you talk about this situation, Connor Hellebuyck is also expiring in a year. You take a look at Mark Scheifele, that guy is on the books until the end of 2024 as well. So this is a team that has two guys who are very good players. Scheifele's a good player. Hellebuyck's a good player. They're on a team that's not really supposed to be all too great in the next few years, and they're expiring soon. This is the Winnipeg Jets going out there and demanding a ransom, and it's their right to go out there and do that. Teams are asking for Hellebuyck, who's a guy who's literally got a Vezina trophy to his name in the past little while, and has always been one of the stronger goalies the past few years. It is totally within the Jets' right to demand a ransom, but of course, it's not up to the other teams to go out there and pay it if they don't feel comfortable doing so. And hearing that the Buffalo Sabres and the New Jersey Devils would not want to do that, it kinda raises some eyebrows as to what the plan is going to be now. If you continue talking with these teams, which you very much can because, hey, the season hasn't started yet, then okay, we could maybe see a trade go down before training camp begins and before the preseason, whatever, get Hellebuyck settled with his new team. Maybe a team just says, okay, screw it, here's the prospect and the pick and the other player that you wanted, Winnipeg. We'll just take your guy. But if there is no type of deal made from now until, let's say, February or March, when the trade deadline comes around, what exactly is going to be the plan then? Do you reevaluate? Do you try to use the season as a gauge to see, okay, if the Winnipeg Jets are actually an okay team, like if Gabe Vilardi shows off really well, if Iafallo shows off really well, if Kupari comes over here and is a good NHL player, if this team can actually have successful results, then maybe you don't even need to trade Hellebuyck or Scheifele away. Maybe you use these guys as your own rental. But of course, that's a very, very short-sighted point of view. It is really the ultimate win-now type of philosophy. If you see, okay, yeah, we're battling for a wild card. We're right there. We can trade away Scheifele or Hellebuyck and use these guys as rentals, maybe retain 50% of their salary and send them to a playoff team for futures, but if we're right there and we want to compete too, maybe we could just keep these guys. They could be our rentals instead, and then we lose them in free agency for nothing. That could be the idea if you really wanted to push it and believe in what the Jets have in 23-24. But of course, you lost out on Dubois, you lost out on Wheeler. That guy's signed a dirt cheap deal with the New York Rangers. But for the Winnipeg Jets, if you wanted to try to use this year to evaluate, then okay. But if you wanted to also just wait until the trade deadline and see where you could trade him then all of a sudden the situation just becomes a regular rental type of deal, And when it comes to these teams in particular that Michael Russo lays out, the Devils, okay, we had been talking about the Devils the entire time. We'd made like 2 videos about Hellebuyck and the Devils. They have been linked to this guy for ages. But the Buffalo Sabres are a very intriguing team too. Now, I do think we made a video about that. Yeah, I think we did. Buffalo and Hellebuyck. But to me personally, as a guy who kind of keeps up with the Buffalo Sabres situation quite adamantly, I don't really know if Hellebuyck is necessary to this team. Like, I don't want to go out there and say that Devin Levi is already the bona fide #1 goalie in the Sabres system. There definitely is more growth to be had there with him. But I don't know if the Buffalo Sabres need a 30-year-old guy who is in his prime, who is one of the best goalies in the league already, and somebody that they would need to re-sign to a huge deal. He needs to get paid, and he's going to get paid because he's Connor freaking Hellebuyck. We had seen other goalies in the NHL who had superstar reputations get the bag. Of course, we know Carey Price, Bobrovsky is in there. I don't necessarily think Hellebuyck is going to get 8 digits, but he could get somewhere in the 8 or 8.5 range. This is a guy whom the Buffalo Sabres I don't really feel need because he doesn't align with their timeline of success. Sure, the Sabres could probably contend for a playoff spot this year, but you still have more growth to exhibit, I feel, with guys like Tage Thompson, like Casey Middlestad, like the younger guys you got. You got Benson, you got Savoy, you got Krebs, JJ Peterka is on the cusp of breaking out. Dahlin and Power just had one great NHL year. He finished up his rookie season in the NHL. That guy's going to get better too. The Sabres don't need a goalie who is going to be amazing now. The Devils, you could debate, say that, it makes sense for them because they're already super stacked everywhere else. Having Connor Hellebuyck in New Jersey would make them the odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup, and it's only September right now. Buffalo is not in that same situation, and they already have a goalie that I think a lot of Sabres fans want to start trusting and believing in more in the immediate short term. Levi is going to be great, most likely, or hopefully. You could never be too sure with goalies after all. But if Devin Levi goes upon the path that a lot of Sabres fans want to see him take, he is a sort of backup this year. He transitions into a 1A, 1B situation next year, and then by the time 25 rolls around, he hopefully is a great goalie. Hellebuyck would just get in the way. And I don't necessarily think it would be too much of a necessary add here. So hearing that the Sabres apparently would not want to trade as much stuff away to the Jets as the Jets would want, that makes sense to me. New Jersey, I mean, you could understand if the Jets were able to get a bunch for Pierre-Luc Dubois, they wouldn't really be too easy in moving their other guys, especially for a guy like Hellebuyck, whom you could say has more value as an NHL player than PLD had. So we'll keep an eye out on the situation, see where Hellebuyck eventually goes, see where Scheifele eventually goes to, because that guy also needs to get traded. But if you're a fan of any of these 3 teams, let me know in the comments all your opinions about this idea here. The Winnipeg Jets wanting a bunch of stuff for Hellebuyck, but it being too much that the Devils and the Sabres both have said no. If you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, what do you think would be an acceptable trade return for from these 2 teams, for your goalie? And if you're a fan of the Devils or the Sabres, what would you want to give up for Hellebuyck, should you feel that this is actually a necessary move for your team to make? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.